Pro-Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for video surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow.
Hi, welcome to Green Rush Live. This is Christopher Smith. I'm standing in for Jimmy Young today for Pro Cannabis Media. And today's show is all going to be about the Cannabis World Conference and Business Expo, the CWCBE Expo in New York City that's happening next week. We've got some great guests for you today. We've got Christine Ianuzzi, who's the showrunner, really, show director for the CWCBE Expo, and Gretchen Gailey, chief strategist, as well as Gia Morón, who's the president of Women Grow, who's got a very exciting slate of events at the show next week. In the second segment of the show today, we'll be talking with Kait Caridi. She is of Proud Mary Association. In the third section, we'll be talking to Colleen Higgins, who's a pharmacist and is involved in the medical aspect of the cannabis industry in New York. And we'll wrap it up in the fourth segment back with Gretchen Gailey. We'll come back up and round it up. So welcome to the show today. We have Christine first, and Gretchen, I believe, has just joined. And Gia, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much.
There you are. How are we doing?
Thanks for having us, Chris. This is great. We really appreciate it.
Well, it's been a while for the viewers now. Christine, you and I go back a little bit, and it's kind of nice to be in the industry for a while, actually, and then you get to see some old friends in old familiar places. So this is actually really nice. You and I have seen each other. I think we first met in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact, and then we rounded up again and we saw each other in before the New York show a couple of years ago. And then I wrote an article. I included you in an article, the 10 most important women in cannabis at the time, as I recall. So I was just brown nosing really for this interview today. So really I was trying to set up and trying to get on your good side. It's really great to have you, though. So you are the show director, I guess is your title, but you're also the CEO of Leading Edge Expos, right?
Correct.
And I always think of you as really, you've been on Leading Edge is a perfect name for your company because you've been in the cannabis shows since very early days, in my experience. So what's it like to be sort of out in front of everybody else? And then let's sort of understand how it feels to be in the New York market while New York is now legalized and it's all changed.
Well, anyway, thanks, Chris, for having us. And yes, I remember you, and it's great to grow up in the industry together. You know, I think,
sure.
You know, we've been around our show. This is our 8th annual CWCBE Expo. We were the first trade show in New York at the Javits Center. And we have grown up in the industry as individuals in the company and as a show. And it's great that Women Grow is here. And Gretchen, I've known both of these women early on when I started. I've seen Gretchen in almost every trade show that we put on and other ones that I've gone to. And she's had many roles in the industry, and she's a pioneer, and so's Gia. And I learned a lot from Gia's company, from Gia's Women Grow, and she's the president of Women Grow. And it's amazing, you hit on it in the beginning, how we all have a history together and we're making new history. And that's really what I think this year is about in our show, coming off of a very hard 2 years for everyone in every business. But now, you know, we had our last show in November in 2021. It was a great success in New York. And here we are 6 months later, a very short path, having another one. And we're going to have a great show again. And it's really nice to have, again, the people around us that we've had and then new entrants into the industry. And that's really what I think this is about, the historic year for New York State, for the surrounding states, the tri-state area, for everyone, and bringing all of the pioneers. They want to be with us and we want to be with them, and making new ones. And that's what it's about.
Well, I should have mentioned, I didn't mean to ignore New Jersey, Connecticut, who had just legalized as well. Delaware decided that they really didn't want to receive all that tax revenue and they didn't want to have any industry there. So they said, no, thanks very much. But there's an awful lot of activity in the Northeast and you guys are really at the center of it, where you belong, I believe. So there you go. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's true.
Gretchen, are you there?
I'm here.
Well, hi, Gretchen. How are you? Good to
Hi,
see you
how are
again.
Good to see you. And I would like to say, Chris, that it warms my heart that you have on your show just all women for this premiere event coming up in New York, the biggest on the East Coast. It's run by a bunch of women. So suck on that.
As it should be, as it should be. See, now you all understand why I'm the president of the Gretchen Gailey fan club. So here you are. I'm really, really happy to see you on the eve or on the verge of Memorial Day weekend. Maybe the three of us are the only ones working. I'm not sure, but in any case, Gretchen, I've seen a lot of great messaging and a lot of great marketing being put out about the show. Tell me about how that's going and how the feedback is going. I think you're doing a terrific job. So how's that going for you? How's it feel?
It's going great. We are just seeing all the reservations roll in. They always, come piling in at the very last minute, which is always good to see. But we've heard a lot of great feedback, and I think people are really looking forward to the programming that we're providing this year. One thing that we've tried to do a bit differently, which has made for a few headaches, is just to have one track of speakers. We don't want anyone's attention to be taken away or for folks having to choose between one issue over another. So we want people's attention not divided. We want them in front of everyone that they want to see, and also to be able to hit the show floor. And that we have some amazing things coming on the show floor. And Gia's group, Women Grow, she has a whole pavilion, and I'm sure she will get into that in a bit.
Well, I know Gia's got her one foot on the accelerator, 1 foot on the brake. So hang on, just tight. Now I understand I don't know if you're allowed to speak about everyone who you've got speaking as the keynote and as the speakers, but I know that I've seen some really exciting names. So whatever you can share, I know that our audience would love to hear.
Well, two of our main keynotes that we are very much looking forward to, Chris Beals, CEO of Weed Maps. I'm sure anyone will see driving around, especially in the New York area, you see those Weed Maps billboards all over the place. So this is a brand well known to many, and we can't wait to hear what he has to say about policy and how things have been moving forward. We also have Nick Kovacevic. I met Nick 1,000 years ago, also grew up with him in the industry at an investing event where he was begging for money for Kush bottles. And he has managed, of course, to take this all into Green Lane, which is now publicly traded. Nice. And so we're excited to hear from him and on how his journey has been. We also, this is going to be a fun little nugget for you guys. Christine has allowed me to take the gloves off and announce that we are going to have Redman attend the show on Friday.
Wow.
And he will be speaking. And so we're looking forward to hearing from them. I would really love to hear him talk about the new National Cannabis Party that he is promoting. But we're just so thrilled and happy that he could join us. And we think he'll be great for everyone to hear from.
Oh, that's just a superstar edition. And again, it's so appropriate. You're the biggest show in New York. You're the legacy show in New York, in my estimation. And it's exactly where he should be, and sharing the platform of the National Party, which has, talk about an issue that's important right now, and that really needs to have a consolidation of a message and clarity in the message and the delivery. What a perfect timing. Amazing.
He promises to be a very good interview. Steve Bloom, who a former editor of High Times and dear friend to the show, he will be the one who will be interviewing Redman. And so we're thrilled to have them both there. And I think Steve is going to just highlight everything we need.
That's great. I know Steve, as you remember, from the state of cannabis, in fact, in the early days. So, and he's a great interviewer and an OG himself, a long legacy, High Times editor, etc. So, what a perfect combination. The people that come to your show are really, really in for a treat with all of that. Wow. I would like to, if you don't, go ahead, Gretchen. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm just going to go on and on. So
don't I know it?
Tell me where you're going to head.
So Gia, I would love to have you come forward and tell me a little bit about what you're working on next week. And it sounds like the Women's Pavilion do I have that right? The Women Growth Pavilion, pardon me, is to me one of the most exciting things that you'll have in the show. It's absolutely important and urgent, really, that women are recognized for all they're doing in the industry. And so I'd love to hear about what your plans are and what things will be happening. Tell me.
So thank you, Chris, so much, but I have to, and there's no way I can go on without acknowledging my cannabis sisters in the industry. I absolutely adore both of these women. I'm like, first of all, Gretchen already knows how much I love her red hair. So I am like, this is my girl. Like when I say like, not casually, how like I love, 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 love both Gretchen and Christine. And it is such an honor to share this time with them. And sitting here, I'm thinking next week feels like a family reunion. I
really
mean,
does.
everyone that they've mentioned, we've worked with and have grown up in the industry since the beginning. I absolutely adore Steve Bloom. He and I exchange messages all the time. And, you know, it's just great to hear that the very first show that I attended when entering this industry is now in its 8th year. And so it's, you know, saluting Christine and all of her hard work. And then Gretchen and I have worked many years together. So, and we've all come up through Women Grow as well, which brings me to the incredible opportunity that we worked with CWCBE on, which is the Women Grow Pavilion. And for the very first time, you know, I think the idea kind of was born, Christine, last year when we extended our booth space to about 20 women over the 3-day period. And they came for like a half a day, but Christine came back and said, oh no, we need to take this bigger. We need to really expand the space. Great idea, but let me help you amplify that. And these are the exact partners that women in the industry are looking for. We're looking for people who will support us. We don't need hand guiding, but we need our opportunities and supporters to help amplify. And that's exactly what next week will do. And so we have 30 women who will be presenting their businesses, vending in our pavilion space. From I have like a list here because it's incredible. We have attorneys, we have the women from House of Puff, we have a beverage company, we have a CBD pet company coming. So when you think about the industry overall, it's not just the plant touching side, it's also the ancillary businesses. We have a marketing firm that is focused on cannabis marketing, and we recognize the challenges within this industry and those who are looking for those service providers. Of course, we've got skincare brands and different types of products, product makers. We have someone who will present a home grow kit. And again, these are so unique opportunities for them to expand and amplify their business to the show. And we're super excited about that. We also want to thank Christine for extending to us 5 full scholarships to women in the industry. And I'm not sure if you're aware, Christine, but we've actually, I think I mentioned to her as well that we're starting this Women from Legacy to Legal. And this is really helping women in the legacy market transition into the legal market. And so we've identified 5 women in legacy who are planning to segue into the legal market. And we're awarding them the scholarships so they can experience the conference so that one day they can be one of those presenting companies. So what CWCBExpo does for not only women in the community, but the industry overall is just immeasurable. Like, I mean, we're beyond grateful for this opportunity. We're excited about it. Everyone's all revved up. I mean, we've had probably 4 conversations a day. Are we ready? Is everyone intact? Has everyone signed their information? We're grateful to this. We know this is a historic, stellar year, and we can't wait until next week.
Wow, what an incredible intro.
I just want to throw in there that, you know, when this industry started years ago, women dominated. You know, women were the CEOs. We were the ones leading this industry. And that's kind of taken a back seat in the past few years with, you know, the MSOs and some other big corporations really coming in and entering the space. And so we see this as just a prime opportunity. I mean, there's no better time to showcase women led companies. And that, like Gia says, they need a place where they can feel that they are welcome and that we want to work together. This is not, a handout. This is a hand up. We want to share with each other, and we want to make sure that these brands get the recognition that they deserve, because these women are just as hardworking as any other of the big boys that are already playing in the space.
And
Well,
just as
Gretchen,
creative, just as talented, everything. Please, sorry, I
I was
interrupted.
just going to say, Chris, that, our Women Grow mission is to connect, educate, empower, and inspire the next generation of cannabis leaders. And that's exactly what this pavilion will represent, that next generation of leaders. And just as Gretchen said, like, this industry was initially, you saw women leading the charge and it took somewhat of a back seat, but everything comes full circle. And I believe this is the roundabout, as we're rounding out this full circle of seeing this next generation of, we're talking chefs, we're talking accessory makers, everything that we're seeing leading in the industry. There's always that next generation that's coming up. And we believe the Women in Our Pavilion will be that representative.
What an incredible opportunity. And aren't you fortunate, in fact, to have this long relationship with Christine, who's such a visionary and has led the industry with her shows and has provided a platform really for all of you to get to know each other. With her heart.
She's led it with her heart too,
Absolutely.
because she cares.
Absolutely. No, she's been out front and bold and brave and visionary. I hats off to you, Christine, honestly.
Well,
You will
thank
find no other show organizer who cares more about this space and the people in it. It's not about, just putting booze on the floor and making money for her. This is about making a quality event where everyone feels welcome and people are going to learn and they're going to do business and they're going to make friends and lifelong friends and colleagues at this show. And we should be so proud and thankful to Christine for all the work that she's done.
And all the work you're doing too, Gretchen. I see you. I'm so excited for you. You're in the right place.
But if I can add something, the Mutual Admiration Society, all of this is leveling up. We are ratcheting up. We are Cannabis 10.10. We're not
Right.
Cannabis 101, and that's where we've grown together. And those who want to learn can still come to the show and should come to the show. They'll leave with the tools and the information they need. But I have to say, we're going to be doing this whole Women Grow Pavilion and other pavilions that we have. We have the College Pavilion. These won't happen without people like this, without Gretchen, without Gia. Their mind share, their vision, their hearts, their intelligence, their experience. None of that could happen without it. And next time, the next show we have, the Women Pavilion, the Women Grow Pavilion is going to be even bigger, and it's going to be even better. And this is a template for more, because we don't stop here. We keep going. And these women are going to be very successful. And we're going to make sure of that. And it's going to be a great pavilion. I would urge you to come in there, Chris, and take a look. It's going to be set up so nice. And these women are going to feel good, exactly what Gretchen and Gia said. They're going to feel welcome. They're going to feel like the leaders they are and will become.
This is fantastic. I am so grateful to all three of you to be able to just share this conversation with you, really. This is wonderful. I have such respect for all of you, and I'm so excited to be in New York next week to share in all of this experience with you. We have to take a break now. We take a break at 4:20, of course, because it's 4:20. So I want to thank you all so much for being here just for the moment, Christine, Gretchen, and Gia. And we'll take a break and we'll come back in the next segment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is a tune that I wrote back in 19... I've forgotten. We had a saying in our old band, one of my first bands in 1966 or so. What are you going to do tonight? Oh, just, like every other night, just going to lay around the shanty and put a good buzz on. Gonna sit down in the kitchen, fix me something good to eat. Make my head a little high, make the whole day complete. Gonna lay around the shanty, oh mama, and put a good buzz on. Pass it to me, baby, pass it to me slow. We'll take time out to smile a little before you let her go. We're gonna lay around the shanty, oh mama, and put a good buzz on. You're on something. Go ahead. Rick Brodsky, everybody. Nothing to do and there's always room for more. Fill it, light it, shut up and close that door, baby. We're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on. Take it, okay. Prohibition never works, it's time to realize it. It grows in my backyard, it's time to legalize it. We're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on. I'm gonna sit down in my rented car. I'm gonna jam it into drive. I'm gonna head on out and play at WSCA with Sean. I'm glad I'm alive. We're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on. Every night and day, we're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on.
Nice. It's Friday.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. Pro Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for video surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. and we keep the costs low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it can make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems, whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that it will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
Hey, welcome back to Green Rush Live. Christopher Smith, publisher of the American Cannabis Report, and I'm hosting today on behalf of Jimmy Young, my great friend and mentor at Cannabis Media. And today, the entire show, we're on the eve of Columbus Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend, pardon me. The entire show is dedicated to the Cannabis World Conference and Business Expo that's going to be in New York City starting next week. That's CWCBExpo.com. And by the way, as a listener to the show today, we have a promo code that'll get you 20% off of tickets if you want. And the promo code, take this down, we'll mention it several times, is Green Rush 22. Green Rush 22. That's your promo code, and that'll get you 20% off tickets. So take the 20%. It's New York City. Take the 20%. Okay, the next segment, who I have today now is Kait Caridi. I just learned how to pronounce her last name correctly, so thank you for helping me with that. Kait Caridi is of the Proud Mary organization. And Kait, I understand you were listening to the last segment and you're actually kind of connected. So let's flow it all together.
Yes, no, I was just tapping in. I wanted to kind of hear who I had to follow up from. So it was Gia Morón, who is actually how I got my start in this industry, working and volunteering at Women Grow with the Women Grow organization. And, I still work to amplify the voices of women and queers in this space, which is exactly what Proud Mary Network does, specifically with the LGBTQ community. So. Yeah,
so I'm charmed to have you here. Pardon me for interrupting. I'm so charmed to have you here. So thank you. It's great to know you. And I'll get to meet you next week because I'll be in New York City. I'm moderating one of the panels, as a matter of fact, on cannabis beverages. So awesome. I'll get to meet a whole lot of new people from the East Coast market that I haven't met yet. Plus, I get to see a lot of my old friends like Christine and Gretchen, for example, and I'll get to meet you. So not bad. I'm looking forward to it. I'm always fascinated to find out how a person got a start in the industry. A person of talent and a person of charisma like you have, you could do infinite number of things with your life and your career. And I'm always interested, how did you end up in this particular market? How did it work for you? How'd you get here?
Yeah, so this week will be my 1-year anniversary doing cannabis full time. So wow. with Proud Mary, who I'm here representing today, I'm their community outreach coordinator. But I also, like I said, work with Women Grow, and we have a sub community called Canadiva, which again amplifies the voices of women in this industry. But, I do social media, I do event coordination, event production, promotion. The term influencer is thrown around a lot. They call me a cannabis influencer, but I really want to make an impact. I want to be an impactor, much less an influencer, right? Because influencers, anyone can be an influencer. You can influence someone to make the wrong decision, or influence someone to, invest in the, wrong stock. I don't know. But if you're making an impact, right, you're making a difference, you're making a change. So this is my 1 year, in the industry full time. But before that, I was in healthcare. And, cannabis does have, benefits, medicinal benefits, right? Can't argue that. So I kind of wanted to do something where I was in oncology, actually, cancer. And I was an administrative assistant, but I kind of still want to mend the two. But just giving a platform to patients and advocates and doing what I'm doing, it's so fulfilling. So that's kind of how I got my start, though. I started volunteering in 2017 with Women Grow. I just got in there and started helping with tickets at the door and registering people. And from there, I just started working with different CBD companies, doing social media and events.
Wow. Well, first of all, happy anniversary. Fantastic. And I totally, of course, I am very interested in the medicinal side of cannabis as well. It's really one of the motivating reasons why I'm in the industry at all, is exactly for that same reason. So I totally understand, coming from from cancer service and helping cannabis patients and recognizing how cannabis can be useful and helpful for people with cancer. It's just, to me, a natural migration to, to welcome you into this side of things. So now I see that your website, for example, is proudmarynetwork.com. So I want to make sure that everybody gets that real clearly, proudmarynetwork.com, where they can find out what you do there. But rather than send them away to the website, how about if we just let you sort of explain what you're about, explain what the foundation of your organization is, and then maybe even mention some of the groups or some of the companies perhaps that you're working with, and how it's working to amplify their message and add cohesion to the community that you're serving.
Yeah, thank you so much again for allowing me up on this platform and giving me the space to talk about it. So Proud Mary Network basically advocates for the LGBTQ plus community. And I'm reading here from a recent press release that we have, but basically making sure that there's visibility and inclusion in this cannabis industry. Bree Brewer, who's my colleague and founded it in 2019. And we really just focus on advocacy, education, and networking to promote, like I said, visibility and inclusion for queer individuals. So, we just want to make sure that there's a safe space. Next week being Cannabis Week and the CWCBE, it's amazing. Christine, gave us a pavilion of our own. So we have a little queer space there. If you want to charge your phone, if you want to hang out, if you want to see a drag show, we're going to have other brands involved, some queer representation, some brands that we're going to be raffling off some stuff. This is one of the companies that I work with, the Chill Bong. I have it right here, but this is one of the gifts that will be raffling off there, and we'll have a bunch of charities and donations for you to support local queer brands.
Now, do ice cubes go in that bong, in that Chill Bong? Is that the deal?
Yes. It's called the Chill Bong, and now I want to be clear that the Chill company is not queer owned, but I work for them, so I think they're kind of queer.
I guess they're sort of queer adjacent. They're queer adjacent.
Yes, they're definitely an ally.
Queer ally. It's all good. It's all important.
Yes, but you do. So you take this off like this, and you put ice inside.
Nice.
And the idea is for it to be a really cool hit. But this is stainless steel bong, so it's like virtually you cannot break this thing.
You can't drop it in the sink and then say, "Oh, I'm so sad." Oh, my weekend is over. Now I have to. We
gotta get you one, Chris. We gotta get you one.
I will make sure that I leave space in my suitcase so that I can bring back some goodies. No question about it. So now, does Proud Mary work specifically with specific companies or other organizations, or tell me how you guys operate and tell me what the network is all about?
Yeah, so of course this pandemic really was a doozy for a lot of us, but Proud Mary really was in the beginning. We did monthly networking events, right? And so it was just a place for all of us to commune and for there, like I said, the visibility to be there, right? So we need to make sure that people know there's other queers in this industry. There's a space for us all here to work and learn and grow together. So we haven't done a networking event like that, but I'm really excited to start off Pride Month, because the month of June is Pride Month as we celebrate. So we're basically kicking it off here with the CWCBE. So it's going to be exciting. But yeah, no brands in particular. But if there are any brands that are out there looking and you are queer owned, we'd love to hear from you and amp up your voice. Just reach out to us.
Sure, and you're in New York, located in New York. I'm sure your reach is, of course, everywhere. But being in New York, you're sort of in the center of the universe of this sort of blasting supernova of a market that's happening on the East Coast. I mean, the Massachusetts market is epically large already.
Just got Rhode Island this week. I don't know if you heard the news. Yeah, it's like they're calling it cannabis country. It's really exciting. It's really exciting.
Yes, well, coming from the original cannabis country, California, I can admire the enthusiasm of the New York market in their marketing ability. Believe me, New York marketing ability is unparalleled, and the voice and the cleverness of the things that you say are unparalleled. I think you might need to combine all those states together to become as big as California, but that's just my personal opinion.
We'll get there.
Listen, all of us, the great thing is all of us are going to get there together, right? All of us are going to get there together. I mean, the progress in the cannabis market is relentless and it can't be stopped. I mean, we look back at sort of the cannabis, the war on drugs, that supposedly happened, a total victory for our side, a total loss for the sort of law enforcement side, right? A total failure of the war on drugs. And it's because people want cannabis and they will have it, period. I mean, I maintain, for example, that anyone in America could get cannabis with 2 phone calls. Even my 85-year-old mother, who probably barely even says the word cannabis, if she really needed some or wanted some, she could get it with 2 phone calls. Either she knows someone who has it, or she knows someone who, knows the guy who knows the guy, kind of thing. 2 phone calls. So there's no way to stop it.
I don't even need a phone.
And you don't even need a phone. I mean, of course, we're on the special side of things, but I'm saying, like, even the most outlier kind of people can get it's unstoppable. And so the most important thing, of course, is that number one, that we sort of regulate and organize properly. And that number 2, we make sure that the cannabis community, which is a community of inclusion, because cannabis values are American values, that cannabis community includes all communities that want to participate. And I think that's where you fall, right? That's where you are. You're saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So many others too. I wanted to give a special shout out. One of the speakers that we'll have at our booth is Mary Pryor. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her and the work that she does, but
I know her name.
Yeah, so she's the CMO of Tonic, and she's the founder of Cannaclusive. So that's really what Cannaclusive is all about too.
Right.
We love to just align with people that get it, people that understand. Like, we want to be here too, right? We want to win and prosper too. So
well, and everyone should be. The plant tells us which way to go. The plant tells us what to do. The plant tells us to be open and loving to all of us, all of ourselves, all the people in the community. There's no question about it, I think, from within the community. It's the external forces, that kind of push us this way and that way. But it's not going to roll out that way. And what's so great about having an organization like yours is you're going to make sure. And you're going to make sure that those voices are heard, and make sure that those businesses are included, and make sure that those people are able to survive and thrive in the way that they should be.
Absolutely.
I mean, I personally, I don't know about you, I'm guessing you might be of the same vibe, but I mean, I believe that the way that the cannabis community is as human beings, I believe is a new template for the way that people can behave and interact with each other going forward. that within the way that you and I are, that people in our community are, this is the way that people should behave and shall behave and will behave going forward, I think.
We can all dream. I think so too.
Well, there's plenty of work to be done. There's no doubt about that, to make sure that that those things become reality, because, you know, we have enemies. We have enemies on the outside. Now, you said, I think, that are you going to have a booth at the CWCBE show next week?
Yeah, we will. We will have a little pavilion, Proud Mary. So make sure if you guys are coming out. We also have a 3-day pass as well. It's PM 22 if you wanted to get passes, but Green Rush 22 also. Hey, I have to plug that one in though. But
nice.
But yes, but please come by if you're out here for Cannabis Week, and we'll have drag performances. We'll have raffles. It'll be fun. Come outside with us.
Well, number one, maybe your code is better than my code. So whichever code works for the listeners out there, use the one that works better, the one that gets you more money taken off, give you more money to spend on goodies, while you're there. Definitely pick the best one. Doesn't matter. But second of all, what I think is so cool about what you're saying is that, and I've been having this conversation a lot with people lately. Tell me if this is something you're experiencing as well. We're talking all about the cannabis industry, but there's also the cannabis community. And I don't mean to play like a semantic game about it really, but the cannabis industry is about profit and loss and MBAs and, blah, blah, blah. But the cannabis community is really about how we think and feel and act about each other, And one of the hallmarks, I think, of the cannabis community is the fun that is part of the plant, right? I mean, it's a little bit, I'm just generally take it back to sort of the Grateful Dead days, right? It's just the fun kind of, the fun part of the plant. It's the reason why marijuana was called marijuana in the first place, because it's kind of funny, it's kind of goofy, and like all the nicknames for pot and ganja, maybe not ganja, that has a more bigger meaning, but so many of the names for it, trees, broccoli, like it's just goofy fun, right? And it's so important to keep that part, the fun part, in the community, and to, now that we're inviting people in at a conference like CWCBE, that new people need to make sure that they remember this is not all about profit and loss. The plant is fun. The plant allows you to have fun.
Yeah, and there's still people advocating. There's still, there's still patients. So along with the fun comes, there's education involved. We still need to educate our communities,
Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? Yeah.
I'm here for it all. I'm here for the celebrations, the fun. If you know me, you know I like the fun part of this plant as well. But there's a lot of work to be done. So we're here.
Yeah, and to what you talked about in the very beginning about the early part of your career coming from the healthcare community. I mean, it must have been so obvious to you how important it is to acknowledge the connection and the potential and the benefits of the plant to people who are sick and really don't have other alternatives.
Yeah, it was my first Women Grow event entitled Cannabis, the exit drug to opioid addiction.
There you go.
That was the title of my first Women Grow seminar. And the room was about 80 to 85% women, which I've never been in a room full of that much, female energy. So that was brilliant. A shout out to Women Grow again. But it's no doubt, it's medicine. That same day that I learned about, the Start Smart Coalition and Drug Policy Alliance and all these advocates and people doing the work. But I also learned, guess what? We have an endocannabinoid system. We have 2 receptors. We have, it's like, and right. So it goes back to education. But
well, that is so true. I think it's a big deal, and I think a lot of people talk about the medical community maybe not getting it, but they are regulated as well, and their teaching, their lessons, their game plan, their syllabus, all of this is all planned. It's not like doctors choose not to learn about cannabis. They it's not available, classes are not available to them in the medical school schooling process, in that education progress, and in that license certification process, there's no endocannabinoid system. It's never mentioned.
Right.
So they just simply don't know. There are some doctors who are breaking through onto our side, who are reading the literature that's provided, that's available to them. It's reading the science and are open to this way of thinking. But it's pretty, tell me if this is true for you too. It's a little bit scary to me that so many medical professionals do not know about the endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
It's a little frightening if you think
I
like, well,
work in healthcare. You can see people's levels of CBC and CBD, and when you're taking their basic blood panel, it's like you see it there.
Sure. I guess, but the fact that they're not alerted to a system in the body. It's not just sort of like everyone has like an endocannabinoid spot on their elbow or something. It is a system that is immersed and integrated with the immune system and the nervous system, and this one plant that human beings have evolved to cohabitate the planet with, that most of our medical professionals don't know this. They've never heard it before, or they've heard it and they're like, yeah, la 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 la.
Right.
It's a little frightening. I think they need to hurry up and get this sorted.
I agree.
Well, let's you and I take the lead on that. Let's get that figured out.
Let's do it, Chris. I'm here.
Yeah. Tell me if you wouldn't mind, Kait, how many people are working with Proud Mary?
Working with, so you mean helping put it together and organizing it?
A little bit of all of it. I mean,
I'll mention Bree Brewer. So she's our founder, and then there's also Adrian, who is helping us this year sponsor with Green Salute. Forgive me, Green Market Salute. That's terrible.
Okay. But that's okay. You can call them up after and fix that.
Unless they're watching already, and then I'm done for.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
But those two, and again, we were doing monthly networking events before the pandemic. But hopefully after Cannabis Week, we're outside this week. So I think maybe this summer. So maybe expect more from us this summer.
Sure. Well, and there's no direct correlation between the size of the organization and the impact that the organization can have. So let's just be perfectly clear about that. If you look at any of the Silicon Valley companies, except for the real big monster ones, but back in the day, Apple Computer was 2 guys, right? Hewlett Packard was 2 guys. Google was 2 guys, right? So
yeah,
there's no correlation between how many you are and how big you are. How about that? Put it that way.
Thank you for that.
Well, and now you're going to live.
Small but mighty.
Small but mighty, and you're going to prove me right about that. So so I'm really looking forward to it. And the opportunity for you to be in the Women Grow Pavilion next week, surrounded by 30 different booths, or rather booths of 30 different companies that are women owned. Which is just they just happen to be women owned, and then you of course have a unique point of view, of course, as well. So, I mean, it's going to be.
Well, I said pavilion, but it's actually a lounge. So it'll be a lounge, which this is the first time that there's ever been a queer specific lounge, and of course all of our allies are welcome in the lounge. But this will be the first time that we've ever had any kind of representation like this at any cannabis conference. And I go to them all. I go to MJ, BizCon, Unpack, Camps, all the trade shows.
Yeah.
And we've never had any kind of safe space like this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing who pops out and who comes to see us to celebrate.
I will be coming to see you. I will definitely. I'll tell you, here's the funny thing. So I lived in New York years ago, but and I didn't know this when I moved in, but I moved into an apartment right above the cubbyhole.
Oh, wow. That's legendary. Cubbyhole and Henrietta's are actually still around, the only lesbian bars in New York City.
The very funny thing is, whenever I say that I lived above the cubbyhole, everyone knows what I'm talking about. Everyone knows I lived above the cubbyhole. Now, it wasn't a place I guess I probably could have gone if I wanted to. Like, they wouldn't like disallow me, but they certainly would have gone, dude.
I've seen men in the cubby hole, but some bartenders might ignore you a little bit.
It would be tough. It would be tough to get a drink. But anyway, like I said, I just lived in the neighborhood, so that's where I live. And it was also even more semi-ridiculous because the day that I moved in was Gay Pride Day. It was the day of the parade.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So the street was popping, huh?
The street was hopping, and all the Harley Davidsons were parked outside my window. So after I'd finished moving in and putting everything, I went out on the fire escape and I was relaxing, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the street. And there's like 50 Harleys. And I'm thinking, what is this? Like, is this some kind of Hell's Angels? 50 Harleys with all women. And I'm finally kind of putting things together one at a time because I was so busy, moving stuff. I didn't even think about any of the rest of it. And all of a sudden I was right in the middle of it. And that was my welcome to the village, that was it.
Wow, that brings back memories. Now I haven't been to the cubby hole in so long. It is literally like a cubby hole. That's the name of the bar because that's right. How much space is inside.
It's tiny. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the cubby hole is not where I lived on. I lived on Hudson Street, but I'm not sure if it's even. I think it moved from that location. I'm not sure, but
I couldn't accurately tell you if it's even still open. So many bars and restaurants, unfortunately, have closed down.
Sure.
In New York.
Yeah.
A lot of things have changed, or like you said, moved around. So I couldn't accurately say, but yeah.
Now, do you happen to know, Kait, if there are any LGBTQ businesses that are winning their license in New York, or maybe even in some of the surrounding markets, New Jersey, Connecticut, whatever?
You know, some people that are in my network that are queer identifying and are going for their license. Yes. Actually, I'm going to mention Anata Farms. They're a hemp farm. They did win a license. They won one of the nice. Conditional licenses, so they New York State gave out, I think it was 100 licenses, cultivation licenses to folks that were New York State hemp growers. And so it's a conditional license. So for the first 2 years, they'll have to grow for our program. But Sarah is her name. And she actually might be at the Women Grow booth. She was with us last year because I helped with the Women Grow booth last year. So she might be popping up. She might be one of those 30 brands that are represented in the Women.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's it's a start, and I'm sure there may be others that you'll learn about. As your network, of course, as a Proud Mary network continues to expand. I mean, I'm going to guess, being New England is so unique in that there's so many states so close together. California is so, I'll tell you how big California is. Last year, I had to drive to see my son play football in the northern part of the state. And then I drove across the state then to see my other son and then drove back home. It was 1,000 miles. And I never left California. 1,000 miles. So wow. We got these big giant states out here, but New England, of course, with all the states so close together, there must be a whole lot of exchange of ideas, and I mean not exchange like we're doing bad things, but exchange of ideas, exchange of professional attitudes and things that we've learned, share new concepts. There must be a lot of that there because there's so much proximity really between all of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I am in New York State, and I, was an advocate and lobbied for the passing of this MRTA bill. But, we have home grow. We have so many things written in this bill that are just like, wow, we really did that. So comparing and trying to make it right, trying to see how we can fit everybody in, trying to see what the state did, and not just in New England, but in other states too. I'm learning from what you guys did, right? Or
sure.
What you're still doing.
We have some LGBTQ people here in California.
Yes, I do. My friend Channy Turner is the Oakland City Commissioner.
Nice. And also speaking of West Hollywood is really actually making a huge push to become a kind of a not Emerald Triangle really is a growing center, but really they're calling it the Emerald City, West Hollywood.
West Hollywood. Wow.
And there's new bars, new dispensaries, new consumption lounges. Woody Harrelson just owned a place.
Opened
a place.
West Hollywood. Yeah. I was
So-
there recently. One of my friends, High Vibe, she does pop-ups out there at West Hollywood. Yeah, and she does the same. So I'm mentioning her because she resonates and does similar, amping the voices of women and queers in this space. So I got to get out there then. Maybe I need to get a ticket out to Hollywood and see what's going on over there.
So once we're finished with CWCBE next week, then you come out here and you visit me in California and we'll take you around. One of my good friends is a dispensary owner in West Hollywood. And he's I don't know what his title is, the president of, we call him the mayor of West Hollywood, but whatever. But he's got an official title with having to do with the Emerald City. Jason Beck is his name. But in any case, we'll definitely go over and see Jason and he can show us around. And and introduce you to people out here, and who knows, get new connections, new ideas, and bring them back home.
I love that. Yes. Okay, so after Cannabis Week, off to Cali I go.
I reckon once you're done. So there's so much to do, and Oakland, I know out here is also doing a whole new kind of a tourism bit. Around Oakland, there's 8 dispensaries on the tour, plus a whole bunch of other sort of Oakland centers. So there's a lot happening here. In fairness, we've been doing this a while out here in California. We legalized a long time ago, 25 years ago. But what's cool about New York is that hopefully you'll miss all of the mistakes. And you'll start here where we are now, and you will just go forward and just make the world better and better and better from where we are now. So that's my hope for the New York and all of the great markets in New England. Hopefully that's the way it goes.
Beautiful wish. Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, New York is the melting pot. We have everything, culture and the music and the vibes. I think really it's the culture and the community. That's really, I'm just so excited to be a part of it,
Well, spring and summer is going to be so wonderful for you guys now that things are opening up, things are more legal. I mean, and COVID is hopefully, well, I know you're in the red zone now, but hopefully it will pull back and give us a break for a minute. Hopefully it'll be, you guys are due in New York, honestly. You guys are due for a break, and you're due for a really good, positive experience and a great season. So I hope all these things come together for you. I really do. But I'll tell you what, Kait, we've got to take a break. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. So go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
No, I just said I look forward to seeing you next week. Can't wait to see you in real life.
It'll be fun. It will really be fun. I'll tell you what, now we've got to do is we have to take a break. We have sponsors and we have commercials to run and that sort of thing. So we're going to take a break right now. And let me just say, great to meet you, and best wishes and good luck to Kait Caridi, pardon me, of Proud Mary Network. And we'll take a break now, and can't wait to see you next week in New York City at the CWCBE conference. And tell me one more time, proudmarynetwork.com.
Yeah.
And tell me your promo code for the show so that people can get cheaper tickets. What's your promo code?
It's PM22, and it's actually 3 free 3-day passes. So.
Wow, free sounds better. Fantastic. Yeah. Good luck with everybody, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you so much, Kait.
Thanks, Chris. Take care. Thanks
for
having me.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it can make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems. Whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the costs low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for video surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow. Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the costs low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it can make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems. Whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that it actually will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for video surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow. Live from the floor of the Hilton Mid. All you need to grow.
Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Green Rush Live, this time on location in New York City. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and we'll have amazing interviews for you over the next couple of hours here on Pro Cannabis Media. A reminder again to please like, share, and subscribe to all of our content on the network. And we're so proud to have a weekly news show called We Talk News that follows this live stream at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Every third Friday of every month, we're able to sit down and talk a little bit with what's going on in Washington, D.C. with our friend Morgan Fox, now with the NORML organization. Morgan, great to see you again.
Hey, Jimmy. Great to see you as always.
All right. So obviously, it's early in the day at MJ Unpacked, obviously. This was obviously recorded earlier, but we are live streaming it now. And it must be good for someone who is in the trenches in D.C. and still knowing that the cannabis industry is alive and well and growing thanks to trade shows like this and entrepreneurial spirit and the passion for the cause.
Absolutely. I mean, if nothing else, it's an excellent sign that the stigma around cannabis is steadily eroding. And I think that we're more lawmakers able to see the type of shows that you're at right now. I think that things would probably move a little bit faster. So maybe that's something I can help facilitate in the near future.
Well, everybody's eyeing every little movement in Washington, D.C., sticking it under a microscope and seeing, does this mean federal reform is coming soon? And I guess the latest inkling that something might be brewing is, I guess, the Department of Justice this week urged the Supreme Court of the United States to not rule on any of the cases that are on their docket having anything to do with cannabis because they feel that federal laws will be changing. I'm sure there's more to this story. Is there anything you can enlighten us on?
Not particularly. It's pretty cut and dry. Although, I don't necessarily know exactly what their motivations are beyond what they actually said publicly. But honestly, I think that it's potentially good, considering that we might be getting laws changed very soon, not to start setting precedent that might potentially impact the ability to change those laws.
So what's the latest, Morgan? We know Chuck Schumer has said, okay, now it's going to be August. He also was I'm pretty sure it was at the New York City parade a couple of weeks ago, celebrating cannabis in the pouring cold rain, and talked about actually getting some Republican senators to at least talk to him. Is it really that difficult for one side of the aisle to talk to the other side of the aisle about this issue?
Pretty much about every issue these days. But to tell you the truth, I don't think it's necessarily an issue of not being able to get Republicans to engage on this issue, but more of Schumer's team wanting to get a little bit more feedback from committee leaders and his Democratic colleagues before presenting something and getting more feedback from Republicans. But that being said, I'm sure that Republicans are paying much more attention to this, as well as to cannabis policy reform generally, particularly as we get closer to the midterms. And honestly, while we see a lot of Republicans start parroting the Mitch McConnell lines every time Democrats include anything related to cannabis in larger legislation, I think that's partially out of concern that Democrats could get in terms of a bump in the midterms. So, and in some cases, maybe a desire to take leadership of this this issue if the House or the Senate flips.
So I was chatting with an attorney, connected attorney to the cannabis industry yesterday, and we had a little chit chat about the Cole memo, the famous Cole memo that pretty much was put out there under the Obama administration, I'm pretty sure, and then rescinded by Jeff Sessions under that other administration. And he thinks that there actually might be a reinstatement of that Cole memo as part of reform. Have you heard anything like that?
So I think that there are several things that need to happen. I mean, first of all, since the Cole memo was rescinded in 2018, in practical terms, we haven't really seen that much of a difference in enforcement patterns from before when the Cole memo was an official policy. But I think that a lot of folks in the industry as well as consumers would really prefer to see that in writing, even though it's just a policy and doesn't have the force of law. Having it be an official statement and official guidance for federal attorneys, I think would make people rest a lot easier. From my discussions with the Department of Justice, as well as Department of Interior and other people that are really close to the issue, I don't think that there's going to be reinstatement of the Cole or Wilkinson memos unless directed to do so by President Biden. And this is clearly not a priority issue for him. Even though since we last spoke, he pardoned a few people with marijuana convictions and granted some clemency. It's a drop in the bucket and woefully inadequate, but at least it's moving in the right direction. That being said, I don't think that the administration is quite there yet to start going out of its way to direct the Department of Justice to reinstate the Cole memo. However, depending on what the appropriations process looks like, which is really kind of wrapping up at this point, I expect to see language introduced, at least as an amendment, that would explicitly direct the Department of Justice to release an official statement about its policies regarding state compliant or tribal compliant cannabis behavior.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, there was a pretty big news item this week that did have some federal implications to it in an odd way. That this company, Bright Green Corporation, went public on NASDAQ. And supposedly the DEA has given this company the opportunity to at least build a facility to grow cannabis in New Mexico for federal research. And this was the first time that the DEA actually offered this to another operation besides the old University of Mississippi deal that's been in place for decades. And we know that was kind of laughed at by the industry. This is a company, according to Deborah Borchardt, who's my go-to source on these kinds of things, this is a company that has no revenue, and yet they were able to raise a lot of money in a bear market on the stock market. I know you're familiar, you must be familiar with this story. Is this another sign, however, that the DEA actually understands that, yes, we have to have better quality cannabis for research purposes?
Well, I mean, the DEA has been saying for years that they were going to start fast tracking approval for additional producers for research purposes. The fact that they're finally getting around to do it, I suppose, is a good sign. Not knowing enough beyond the article that you read about this company, I can't necessarily say if they're particularly deserving of this this application or this grant, but I think that hopefully we will see additional licenses and additional dispensations being granted in the near future. And if they're not, then we really need to hold the DEA accountable, because they've been continuously upping their request quota without providing the means to actually do it. Maybe that could get fast tracked as well when the conference committee for the House and Senate research bills are able to come up with a reconciliation bill for that. But I think that that's probably a few months away.
There you go. Taking a look at some of the states, there was definitely a snag and a roadblock in New Hampshire where they thought they might be able to get a cannabis bill in place for adult use, and then finally a committee shot it down in their Senate. And Delaware, it doesn't look like now that's going to move forward. Is there anything to read in between the lines on either of those, or is it just individual states still dealing with the stigma and the challenges of moving forward with legalization or decriminalization?
Well, New Hampshire has been kind of a unique animal and a longstanding, frustrating, and confusing issue. The fact that representatives of the live free or die state seem to be taking it as a point of honor that they're an island in the middle of a sea of sensible cannabis policy reform laws. I think that that's really going to take a change in what the New Hampshire legislature looks like. Unfortunately, it's kind of huge, so that could be pretty difficult, but I'm sure that the folks on the ground are already strategizing for ways to do that before the next legislative session, wherever possible. As far as Delaware goes, that was kind of a tricky situation to begin with. Again, pretty unique. In my experience, I'd never seen a bill get split up like that on the same, basically the same session, and basically using one to horse trade against the other. It's pretty fascinating. We've been hearing some talk about how if this doesn't, if the regulation bill doesn't pass, then folks are going to try to veto the possession bill, which did pass. I tend to think that that is a little bit of a stretch. I think that might be just something that lawmakers are saying because they want to try to put extra pressure to pass the regulation bill, which they should. But, at the very least, I think that it's possible that some form of compromise is possible in Delaware in the near future going forward. So hopefully we won't have too much longer to wait in that state. But in terms of national significance, I think that it's kind of indicative that the issue of cannabis policy reform and legalization has gotten a lot more complicated as people learn more about it. And as states are able to look at what has happened elsewhere and start looking at a lot more of the details of the legislation, rather than having it be relatively simple as it had been in the past. And the fact that lawmakers seem to be pretty engaged on details, while occasionally frustrating, I think overall is a good sign.
And any impact of the fact that this is President Biden's home state and they're afraid to maybe upset their native son?
If that's the reason why things are moving slowly, it's the first I've heard of it. In terms of the potential benefit of that, honestly, I think it would be huge. If President Biden on a weekly basis is going back and forth between two jurisdictions where cannabis is legal, it definitely creates an opportunity to put a little bit more pressure on him.
There you go. Hey, Morgan Fox from the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, our favorite lobbyist in Washington, D.C. I so appreciate talking with you every third Friday of every month. And please keep up the good work, Morgan.
Thanks, Jimmy. Talk to you soon.
You bet. And we are going to take our first break now on Green Rush Live. And I can tell you, you want to stay tuned until the final interview, because I'm sitting down with a woman named Tanya Griffin from Oh Yes Love. And yes, we're talking about that 3-letter word that, as she says, anybody who's interested in sex should check out her products. We'll have that after our regular 420 salute through Jonathan Edwards and Shanti. Back with more Green Rush Live from MJ Unpacked in New York after this.
Yeah, this is a tune that I wrote back in 19... I've forgotten.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It is everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it can make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems, whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that it actually will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
Pro Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for video surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the costs low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It is everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hi, my name's Tai Chang. I'm the president and founder of Aloha Green Apothecary in Hawaii. We're a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with 3 dispensaries, 1 extraction lab, and 1 cultivation center near the North Shore of Oahu. We have over 150 employees now, and we've been working with Adaptive HR to meet our human resource needs. We're super excited to work with them as we expand, and we've grown at least 2-3 times over the last 2 years. So we look forward to a good relationship with Adaptive, and come visit us in Hawaii anytime. Aloha.
Hi, my name is Janice O'Reilly. I'm a partner with AAFCPAs, a national CPA firm that specializes in cannabis. We're based out of Boston. We have been working with Adaptive HR for several years and have recommended them to our clients, who have all been extremely happy with their service and their responsiveness.
Calling All Growers with Liz Grow is supported by The Grow Kit from StyleLighting.shop, Adaptive HR, built for your cannabis business, Revolutionary Clinics, where the patient comes first, by Accounting Buds, your accountant in cannabis, and by Salient Video Surveillance Systems for today and tomorrow's security.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the costs low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay 1 initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
Pro Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for video surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it can make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems, whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that it actually will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
difference is building a solution for that individual. Not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the cost low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Hey, welcome back to Green Rush Live. This is Christopher Smith. I'm the publisher of the American Cannabis Report, and I'm hosting Green Rush Live today in place of my good friend and mentor, Jimmy Young, who's off for the day and maybe even off for the weekend, hopefully. In our last segment right now, I've got Gretchen Gailey back up. Gretchen Gailey is, again, Chief Strategist for the CWCBE Expo. She's also the founder of Panoptic Strategies in Washington, D.C., a political insider and a longtime cannabis advocate. Has a wide roster of cannabis clients as well. One of the real experts in the industry. Absolutely smart, engaging, wonderful to chat with. So I'm really excited to have Gretchen back. Gretchen, hi there.
Hi, thanks for having me back and all your kind words.
Now we have a good connection. You and I were just talking about the difference that we're seeing between this year's CWCBE show and even last year's show, which was a little COVID kind of affected, and people weren't sure if they could come or whatever, and it was tough to get a lot of the speakers that you would ordinarily see. But the roster of people that I'm seeing in the show this year is absolutely top quality from all across our industry and other industries, the media, from Wall Street, from New York, etc. So I would love to be able to just let people know about the conference and about the things that are happening in New York that are really making it much more welcoming and back to business as normal, finally, business as usual.
Sure. The end of October was when we had our show in the fall. And it was honestly just a few weeks after New York had lifted their mandates on the number of people at a public gathering. So we could still attend, but everyone was wearing masks. And I think people were still a bit tentative coming out during the fall show. Sure. But that's not the response that we've been hearing for the show next week. People are excited, the birds are chirping and singing in New York, and they're ready and welcoming. I was actually in New York last week, speaking with some cab drivers, and they're like, yes, we're open, please come. The city is alive, booming, and the restaurants, everyone's ready. It seems as if they have missed tourists. And I don't know whoever misses tourists, but New York definitely has. And so they're ready for, cannabis to descend upon them. And this is officially a New York Cannabis Week. And so there will be a lot of events going on. I know that there is the NORML Formal, which will be happening Wednesday night. After our show takes place, there are a few mixers, as well as after parties. Friday night is always our yacht party, which is a beautiful cruise around the bay, and you can see the Statue of Liberty and all the sights. And it's a nice place if you like to consume, but they just look the other way. They're very kind to us. There's so many things that are out there for New York. The shows are happening again at the Javits Center. There is not a mask mandate. You're more than welcome to wear one if that makes you feel more comfortable, but it's not necessary, and we're just ready for people to come out. And we're very excited by the number of panelists that we have that are taking part. You had mentioned a few of them. One Thursday, we are doing Weed Meets Wall Street. And so we expect that to be an interesting one. We have Terry Booth there. I believe you've spoken with him before. He is the CEO of Audacious, which is a fairly new MSO. But those who are familiar with Terry, he came from Aurora. So he has been around the cannabis industry for quite a bit. We also have John Caden from Navy Capital, and Jay Zarkowski of Canna Advisors. And this is a stat that Jay touts. Now, I'm not sure if it's official, but he claims to have gotten the most licenses for people across the country, that he holds that record. So Canna Advisors has been very good and instrumental in the industry since the start, helping people. And it's funny, I think Jay's, one of his first stories was he went in to get a license in Colorado just for kicks, just trying to see what was necessary. And he walked in the door and he was literally like the second or third guy. And it was like, give us $5, here you go, bam. And he was a license holder in Colorado. It's gotten much tougher since.
It's amazing.
It's just so amazing what it used to be like. So it'll be great to hear his perspective. And he's worked with so many companies and seen them go from, you know, baby startups to going public. So it should be a great panel.
It's amazing to hear about the development of licensing. Even my entree into the cannabis industry was through a licensing company, as a matter of fact. Same idea. I was out here in Los Angeles, the company called CWCBE, and they had finished an application for a client in the Massachusetts market. And their application was over 2,000 pages. And they brought it in, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 10 legal boxes that they put on a hand truck and delivered them. I mean, it was the biggest. It was like document production in Washington, D.C. or something. It was just massive production of a document. I think they won, but still, to think that you could walk in with $5 and get a license, you know, sort of back in the day, is kind of quaint and kind of adorable, you know.
I mean, I think frankly, I think 10 banker boxes full of documents is a bit insane. I don't know what kind of hoops they're trying to make people jump through nowadays.
No idea.
But good for them for doing the paperwork. I would not have the fortitude to keep going with that kind of application.
Well, it also, I guess, you know, part of it is it speaks to the investment that companies are making into getting into the cannabis industry. And I guess back to the original point, which is just how much more serious and professional the quality of the people at your show are, just from the brief bios and the sort of headshots and the quality of the companies. I mean, this is really going to be a great show.
The industry has evolved greatly over the past 8 years. And it's not to say that anyone's pushing out the legacy guys, but things are going in a more professional spirit. And, you know, the legacy guys are coming along with them. And they are really providing their guidance to a lot of these companies. But for these companies to really scale and compete for when full legalization happens, these changes need to take place. And we're really starting to see a lot of professionals who once, you know, maybe at 420 snuck out of their office, are now feeling free to jump into it. I remember when I got into the space, it was definitely like, do I tell people I'm working in cannabis? It was very hush hush. And I even had folks who wouldn't speak to me anymore when I started doing this. And that's just because Washington's an insane town. But it was still very taboo. And so now it's like, everyone's like putting on their resumes. It's on LinkedIn. You can join plenty of investment groups. I mean, it's no longer in the shadows. And so I think this conference just really highlights the opportunities and the folks that you can meet to really move the industry forward.
I think you're right, Gretchen. I think that I don't think that the legacy folks that have sort of helped build, I mean, I often even wonder whether we should say they built the industry, because I don't know if that was even anyone's intention to build some kind of nationwide industry necessarily. They were trying to get by and do what they did best and do what they loved. I mean, I don't think anybody was trying to say, you know, we want to become Amazon or something. I'm not so sure, but now there are people who are saying that, I think. But I think you're right, though, that there will always be room for those quality operators who are focused on that kind of product, who are focused on the quality experience, the quality of the product. And there's going to be others who are just focused on other aspects of it, who are not going to be focused on the strain or the terpenes or the profile or whatever. They're just doing different things. There's room for all of it. There's room for all of it.
Well, and I think especially at our show, we do kind of touch on every topic. So the folks that are well versed in the business side have the opportunity to meet that grower, to meet that amazing seed geneticist out of Humboldt. We'll be there. And that's an opportunity for these folks to connect and really see how there are different synergies between them, and they can really grow something.
Well, you have, and there are people with such amazing prowess from other areas that are bringing it to the cannabis industry. Are you going to have the folks from Aviva? Is that the name of that company? The MIT guys?
Oh, Adaviv, yes.
Adaviv, sorry, I got it sideways. Sorry about that.
Yes,
they're coming down.
They are speaking on a panel with Thomas Larson. He's the CEO of Alps, and his background is all in large-scale greenhouses and the building of those types of facilities. And then also on that panel is Nat Pennington, who is the founder of the Humboldt Seed Company. And he's who I was referring to as that amazing geneticist. Nat has been in the industry for 30 years. And he just makes amazing, amazing plants. And so really with Adaviv here, who, for those who aren't familiar, they use AI technology to help map a grow. So you can detect molds and fungus and all pests, all sorts of things, weeks before the naked eye. And so really for this panel, we put the three of them together to really help people understand the different aspects that go into cultivation, and how if you really hone them and look at the different ways that they can work together, that you can really scale and really build your grow into something that performs quite well. And especially in this type of economy, when you are looking at different ways to tighten the belt, you need to be able to save. You can't afford to lose a harvest to mold or fungus. And they even have tools that look at, different labor. And really, there are plenty of tools out there that, measure how much time your employees are putting in. But they're able to check out the quality of their labor, figure out de-leafing. Wow. Nat will grow an entire greenhouse full of cannabis. And if there's only one plant that meets the standards, he's good with that. Gets rid of all the rest. And he just wants to hone in on those seeds. And if you have just the perfect combination of, the great grow, you have the facility that you need, and really can make it energy efficient. And I'm sure Thomas will go into all that. I mean, those are steps that people really need now, because this is no longer, cannabis 1.0. Like Christine was saying, we're at cannabis 10.0. And I think the folks who are in the industry now who want to succeed and continue on past full legalization, because the big boys are coming. At some point, they're marching through the doors, and they are going to have no problem erecting, 500,000 square foot grows and doing whatever they need to do. They'll just throw tons and tons of money at the problem, which we know many in this industry don't have. So if you can build the foundation now and be the quality business that these folks might be interested in, they might acquire you instead of stepping on you. And really, you can really take your growth to the next level. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm moderating that panel. So I'm going to be very excited to see that.
That's terrific. Oh, good for you.
I met Nat years ago. I met Nat in Humboldt years ago, and he took me out to my first grows out there when things were illicit. And the level of tech, honestly, that Humboldt had going on years ago, it was quite impressive, that the security measures and things that they were taking. So people might think of Humboldt as, these backwoods farmers who are just hiding and getting high. These guys know what they're doing. It's gonna be interesting to see when Humboldt is unleashed on the nation. So,
there's the other aspect, Gretchen, that you're so rightly pointing out, which is that there's the indoor versus the outdoor, and the purists who talk about growing outdoor in the sun-grown space, but a lot of the world doesn't grow that way, can't grow that way, is too far north, so doesn't have enough season, enough summertime, enough season. And then we talk about, markets around the world, Europe. If we look at, Hollywood, you and I have talked about this. Holland is, a massive producer of agricultural products. They're a tiny little country, and they grow everything indoor. So the indoor option has to be addressed. It has to be perfected. And the fact that you're bringing so many great professionals who know and understand that part is, again, it just elevates the conversation to where it needs to be to make sure that cannabis is prepared and cannabis is competitive in the marketplace it's entering into.
And I think you're exactly right that there's definitely a place for indoor and outdoor. I always find it amusing when people bash the other one. Frankly, I think indoor is probably going to be used a great deal more when it comes to the medical side, just because so much more can be controlled in an indoor grow, which is going to be very necessary for when you're replicating for actual use in medicines. That's going to move forward.
No doubt.
But I think it's going to be great. I can't wait to have all these people in the same room together. And one panel I'm also especially looking forward to, you will be moderating. I can't wait. The beverage panel.
I talked to all the folks yesterday. I got them all on a Zoom call. I wanted to get acquainted with them a little bit. And I wanted to make sure that, because I'm not a grower, I'm not a producer, I'm not a manufacturer myself. So I wanted to make sure that I was up to date on what kinds of issues they're facing, what kind of opportunities they're seeing. So it was really, really interesting. We've got, it was like an education, like a seminar, really, even just that. One of the most interesting things that they brought up really was how, and we'll learn much more about it on the panel, of course, but I just want to give a little tease about it, which is something I hadn't thought about, which is that beverages offer an incredible opportunity for equalizing and normalizing the market. Because once you take this whole issue of the cannabis smell out of the equation, I mean, I think it's probably what you're talking about. Yeah, imagine if on 420 or at 420 in the afternoon, you actually stepped out and, had a joint outside and then came back in the office in Washington, D.C. Everyone be like, Gretchen, what are you doing? Right? I mean, that's obviously the telltale of the smell is the thing that really triggers people quite a bit. But in beverages, that doesn't happen. And that way, it's actually very equalizing and very sort of democratizing and will really help normalize cannabis into consumption lounges and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation. And the talent and the experience and the quality on that stage is just absolutely remarkable. So it's really, really great. So I'm really looking forward to it. I will be a spectator watching them have at it. It's gonna be great.
It should be great. And for many folks, social consumption lounges, it's a new thing for the industry. And that's one thing that we definitely wanted to stay on top of at CWCBE was the latest and the cutting edge. We don't want to keep covering the same old topics. And so we know social consumption lounges are definitely coming to New York. I do think we will see them popping up other places. There are a few already out in California, but I totally agree that the cannabis beverage is going to help get rid of some of the stigma. And frankly, I think in a social setting, we are all so already programmed to sitting down and having a cocktail, going to a happy hour. I think that will also bring in a number of new players, new consumers into the industry. I think it'll be an experience. So many people, are social drinkers. I think they'll become social cannabis users through sitting down and having, a great glass of wine from House of Saka. Or if that's not your deal, there's Kalo with their CBD, their seltzer beverages. And then we've seen a number of other brands that have been hitting the marketplace, especially in the beer category. So there's a little something for everyone. And I think that it'll really be interesting to see how it is accepted. I think a big stumbling block for the beverage industry to overcome is their problems with dosing. There was true story. I was out in California, and this was probably a few years ago, and I got a cannabis beverage, and it told me it looked like a regular Snapple. It was like an iced tea, regular bottle. And when you looked at the dosing, it told you to drink an ounce. Well, can you imagine putting this into a freezer at the 7-Eleven and expecting consumers to just go in and drink an ounce of a beverage?
No,
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
This is a 16, 20 ounce beverage and someone's just going to down it, not even thinking.
So, I'm with you. And you know what, even also, I think this worries a lot of the pros and a lot of the insiders, which is those little small bottles that are very concentrated and have 100 milligrams in a little small dose. I mean, it's the same, what's this stuff called? 5-minute energy, 5-hour energy. So it's the same kind of packaging, same form factor, they'll call it, right? The same small little guy, but again, you're only supposed to drink a little bit of it, and that's a dose. 10 milligrams would be 1/10 of this little one. But of course, people are like, I don't know, and they kind of whatever. Well, now, now you're in trouble because it's already inside.
Maureen Dowd had problems, years ago with her brownie. How do you think America's going to respond to this?
I know those little guys, I think, are problems. But I tell you what, I talked to Tracy Mason, of one of the people on the panel next week. She's the founder of House of Saka, like you said. And what she talked about was so fascinating to me was the marriage, or the intersection of technology and old school winemaking. Actually, I mean, first of all, they're headquartered in the Sonoma Valley, right? So that's wine country purely. So they start with a base of wine. They take the alcohol out and replace it with cannabinoids. And one of the things she talked about was dosing as one of their strengths. So I think we're going to hear a lot about the subject about dosing and how they're fighting against the problems that could happen in the industry, because they're so aware that once somebody has a problem, then it washes back on all of us. It becomes a problem for everyone. And so they really are very, very conscious about it. So again, I think people are going to learn a lot about it. And I think they're going to be really, really encouraged. And the New York market, New York, New Jersey, all, those markets that are all close together, they've got such a highly developed distribution network, et cetera. I mean, I think there's an awful lot to talk about. So it's going to be a good show. I was glad, I don't know, you're frozen actually, Gretchen. I was really also encouraged in the earlier part of the show when all the three of us were on, the four of us, that Christine got so much praise. I was just so encouraged. I like her so much, and I've known her for a couple of years, and I know you've known her for a couple of years. I'm talking about Christine. Christine Ianuzzi. Yeah. And I was just so happy really to hear her get so much praise, because I just really feel like she's been on the forefront. She's been so strong for our industry, and she's still standing, and she's still putting on the best show in New York. So I'm just really proud to know her and proud to hear everybody singing her praises. So there you go.
I mean, Christine is truly such a pioneer in the space. First off, you don't normally see that many women up front and center running such a business like Christine has put on. And I love her because she will take the shirt off her back, no problem, for anyone, for, her smallest vendor to, her main sponsor. It does not matter. She cares about putting on the best show. And she wants people to have the greatest experience while they're there. And I think it really comes through about how much she cares when it comes to her shows. And so that's frankly one of the reasons I wanted to start working with her, is because I knew of what a great person she was and how important it was to her that people were receiving the highest quality possible. And money is never an issue with her, which I love. And be like, do you need a ticket? All right, sure. Christine's like, let's figure out. It's much better for you to be inside and learning instead of me, kicking you out or swapping to the name badges. We'll find a way to make it work so everyone can take part.
And I think also what's cool about Christine, and this is really telling about what a quality person she is that a lot of the same people are there year after year after year, right? She doesn't kind of run through the mill and push people out or whatever. People are loyal to her and she's loyal to them, and she builds strong relationships with people. I mean, I just think I'm a fan. I think she's terrific. Oh, we're stuck again. There you go.
Greatest.
Oh,
she's going to put on. Oh shoot. You're gonna get a moving Gretchen, so I keep moving closer to my router.
I think you just want to sit down next to the router, and I think that'll probably get us there.
We'll get there.
I know we will. Tell me a little bit more about what's happening, if you wouldn't mind. I mean, we can go a little bit off script a little bit, but I'm always curious to hear about what you're working on, and tell me what's happening with Panoptic Strategies. And maybe if you want to just give a little, just because we're in a different venue now from what we're usually in, but if you wanted to give a little bit of a summary about what might be happening in the politics. We just be a little gentle on that, but perhaps you might want to cover that too.
Sure. It's probably easier for me to jump into what's going on in Washington.
Okay.
For cannabis, it is an exciting summer in Washington, because actually safe banking might have a chance to finally go through and become something.
Nice.
We're going to see if Chuck Schumer is able to sit on his hands and allow safe banking to stay a part of the America Competes Act. Currently, they are in conference committee, the Senate and the House side, working out their differences. And I forget the exact number. I believe it's 7 or 9 sponsors of SAFE. And so that's great. So we have the opportunity to really have people in the room who care about it and want to keep it in the legislation. And Earl Blumenauer, he's one of the Cannabis Caucus co-chairs. He is also one of the main negotiators of the American Competes Act. So you can be damn sure that Earl is not going to let this thing get tossed out for any ridiculous reasons, so much as Chuck Schumer just trying to protect his own bill.
Well,
Blumenauer
and Blumenauer from Oregon has been such a strong advocate for such a long time. So that's really, like you said, that's really strong.
Yeah, Earl is great. Now, if this all works out, if conference committee can come to terms, I would say that we should see the America Competes Act. It's probably still going to be another month or so out. You know, it does take a while to get through this stuff. In the meantime, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer keeps promising they are working on the CAOA. And he says that he is going door to door, talking to Republicans, trying to see what they want to get this thing through. I have not heard that to really be the case. That's not what I'm hearing around, DC, but maybe he's talking to his Republican mailman. I don't know who he's talking to, but he says he's talking to Republicans trying to figure this out. I'm hopeful if he is, the first thing that they're going to yell about is the taxation level, because a 25% excise tax is just mind-boggling. They're out of their gourds if they think that's going to fly in this industry.
It's insane. It's insane that they would think that doubling the tax of the legal product would do anything to affect. I mean, we've got to think about what's the real goal here. Are they really trying to eliminate the illicit market? And if they are, then doubling the price of everything on our side is, of course, going to do nothing to eliminate the illicit market. It's just going to make the illicit market more popular. Why would anybody shop at the double price store? Why would anybody do that? It's crazy.
I mean, the number one reason that people have given for not turning from the illicit market to the legal is because it just costs too much. The prices are too high. And if you really think about it, you have cultivation taxes, there are taxes at the municipality level, the distributors, the retailers. We're being taxed every way possible. No other industry in this country has to operate this way. No other agricultural commodity is taxed just for growing it. This is insane.
Absolutely.
And Washington needs to wake up and figure that out. We'll see if they can get there.
Yeah, the greed is quite incredible.
Some other interesting things going on in Washington.
One more minute on
Washington. All right. The FDA has announced recently they will be doing a hearing, probably in a month or so, looking at CBD as a dietary supplement. And so they are looking for comment from people from the industry to take into consideration when they're considering this new policy. So I urge everyone to go and check out the FDA's website and try and figure out where you submit your answers for that. I think that'll be a great move. And currently, there are 2 pieces of legislation on the Hill for that, and they're not going very far. So we really need the FDA to step up and run with this.
That would be about
we'll see
time.
if that can happen.
That would be about time. But I'll tell you what, speaking of time, we're just at the end of time for today. So I want to express my really, really sincere appreciation to you, Gretchen, Gailey, the founder of Panoptic Strategies, and also with the CWCBE Expo in New York City starting next week. I have a promotional code. I'll repeat the promotional code GreenRush22 to get a discount on your tickets for all the viewers out there in case you're interested in saving a little money. I'm sure you are. It is New York Cannabis Week, I think. Is that what you call it? New York Cannabis Week also. New York is open for business and open for tourism and open for visitors. So everyone should be getting to the CWCBE Expo next week and showing. And I'm Christopher Smith, publisher of the American Cannabis Report. I'm bringing you Green Rush Live for Pro Cannabis Media. Make sure you save and share on all your social media channels. And we'll see you next time. Thank you, Gretchen.
Thanks, Chris.
Coming up on We Talk News this week, the count is 19 legal cannabis states as Rhode Island finally passes their legalization bill. Now, if at first you don't succeed, the U.S. House of Representatives passes the MORE Act for the second time. Congress wants legalization now. Now, if they could only get the Senate to cooperate. No doubt now, hemp advocates are celebrating the legalization of Delta 8, just another debate for the cannabis industry. And happy 84th birthday, Tommy Chong. Are those candles or birthdays on that cake? We Talk News is next. Pro Cannabis Media original content is supported by Salient Systems, your trusted name in video surveillance for the cannabis industry, and by Revolutionary Clinics, Massachusetts' #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Accounting Buds, CPA services for the cannabis industry, and by stylighting.shop. Log on today to get your grow kit.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jimmy Young, founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and this is We Talk News. Elena Pinto is off this week, but she'll be back next week. Our top story always focuses on the legalization of cannabis at the state or federal level. Now, you have to ask, is this a step closer or not this week? I mean, how many times does the U.S. House of Representatives have to vote on the MORE Act that legalizes cannabis at the federal level before it actually reaches the Senate floor? Now, it's been twice, but on that Senate floor, there's a lot of scuttlebutt coming out of Washington, D.C., that there's some backroom talk going on amongst those senators about how to break the political divide in Washington, D.C., and cannabis is right in the middle of it. Now, on the state front, there's plenty of movement from coast to coast. We start in New England, where Rhode Island finally voted to legalize adult use and sale, a battle that has been going on for a long, long time in their legislature, according to Marijuana Policy Project's Jared Marford, who I talked to earlier this week.
Well, we started pushing for legalization about a decade ago. So this is long overdue. There's been a broad coalition of organizations advocating and pushing for this for years. Senator Josh Miller introduced the first legalization bill, I believe, in 2011. And so, we were not surprised by the momentum. We've had a lot of momentum for many years. It's been tough to get the legislature to recognize that momentum, but they finally have, and now they're speaking our language.
So, Jared, a question. As more states legalize, does that put more pressure on our federal government to make change?
I think it absolutely does. I mean, when you see your own constituents voting in favor of a policy, it increasingly becomes difficult to defend why you're against it, right? I mean, you're elected to represent those constituents, and it puts the pressure on that lawmaker to explain why they don't agree with their own constituents. Does it automatically flip their position? No, but I think over time it builds pressure and also interest groups, right, within the state. There, once you have legalization, you have markets that form, businesses that form, and those people talk to their congressional representatives and their senators, and that has an effect as well. So I think over time, we certainly believe that the best strategy for federal reform is to continue making state level progress, especially in Republican-led states.
On the federal front, U.S. Senators Chuck Schumer, Ron Wyden, and Cory Booker continue their backroom discussions with their fellow senators who are blocking movement of cannabis at the federal level in the Senate. Now, Cannabis Daily News and Forbes reports that some of the Republican prohibitionist guard are changing their tune on reform and the legalization movement.
Phil Adams has more in his DC report.
Hi, this is Phil Adams from Vote Pro Podcast, here with the Weed Talk News DC report. As attitudes about cannabis among conservatives continue to shift toward legalization, a number of GOP lawmakers in Washington are joining their Democratic colleagues to enact important legal reforms. Last year, more than 100 Republican House members voted in favor of the Safe Banking Act, aimed at protecting financial institutions that serve the cannabis industry from federal penalties. Over the past year, several Republicans have sponsored or supported a host of cannabis reform bills. South Carolina's Nancy Mace introduced the States Reform Act, a bill to remove cannabis from Schedule I. Representative Greg Steube's Veterans Cannabis Use for Safe Healing Act would grant veterans access to medical cannabis. And Republican Brian Mast worked with Democrat Hakeem Jeffries to offer the Prepare Act to establish a commission for federal regulation of cannabis in the event it becomes federally legal. At the forefront of the GOP effort, however, is Representative Dave Joyce of Ohio, a Republican co-chair of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus. Last year, Joyce introduced the Common Sense Cannabis Reform Act in the House to deschedule cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act. Back in 2018, Joyce introduced the House version of the States Act to protect state legal cannabis programs from federal interference. Inflation may soon be coming to a dispensary near you. MJ Biz Daily reports that fertilizer shortages brought on by the ongoing supply chain disruptions and the war in Ukraine are leading to higher prices for cannabis growers. With spikes in fertilizer prices likely to impact the cultivation of all kinds of crops worldwide, rising costs will inevitably be passed on to consumers, and cannabis users will likely be no exception. The system commonly used for labeling cannabis strains can be misleading for consumers, according to a new study. Published last week in PLOS One, a scientific journal published by the Public Library of Science, the study finds that the nomenclature used to categorize cannabis, i.e. indicas, sativas, and hybrids, is not an effective way to provide information to the consumer about cannabis products. What's often missing in most labeling, the study finds, is an accurate breakdown of terpenes, the essential oils thought to play a role not only in taste and aroma, but also in the physical and psychoactive effects of various strains of cannabis. The study analyzed the chemical compositions of close to 90,000 cannabis samples across 6 states. That's the Weed Talk DC report for this week. I'm Phil Adams from Vote Pro Podcast.
Turning back to New England, where every state has legalized adult use of cannabis except for New Hampshire. Voting in or passing a bill is only the first step towards a vibrant adult use market for cannabis. In Vermont, they continue to struggle with their newly appointed Cannabis Control Board. Citizens there are starting to get more and more frustrated with the pace of the new regulations and rolling them out. Now, our Vermont correspondent, Jessie Lynn Dolan, has been in the middle of this since the beginning. Here's her Vermont report this week.
I'm Jessie Lynn Dolan from Nurse Grown Organics and Vermont Cannabis Nurses, and this is the Weed Talk News Vermont report. The Cannabis Control Board approved only 3 more licenses this week, all of which fall under the definition of social equity status. The board has received 37 social equity applicants overall, but 29 are still incomplete. One application was denied due to the fact that the applicant does not meet the criteria for social equity. The board has also received 18 new pre-qualification applicants, 5 cultivators, 5 manufacturers, 1 wholesale, and 7 retail applicants. In total, 145 applicants have been pre-qualified since applications opened. On Saturday, May 28th, Hot and Heady is having their first infused movie night featuring the classic Grandma's Boy. Attendees will get 1 free pre-roll and access to their infused and uninfused concessions. Vermont Cannabis Solutions law firm June 1st networking event will be in Brattleboro at Vermont Grow Barn. That's the Vermont report for Weed Talk News. I'm Vermont's cannabis nurse, Jessie Lynn Dolan.
Next up, the ongoing saga of legalization in South Dakota. Let's just recap. Voters there approved both medical and adult use in the last election at the ballot box in 2020.
Now, that was the first state to actually accomplish the double, if you will, at the polls. However, their Governor Kristi Noem didn't like the results, so she challenged the language of the ballot question and was able to delay that process. Well, you know the saying, if you at first don't succeed, you got to keep trying, right? Sure enough, Citizens for Better Marijuana Laws has created a new ballot question, and it has been accepted to appear on the 2022 ballot. Congrats to Matt Schweik on that goal. Now it's time to check in on a state that does not have those problems, but Missouri is always facing challenges, and Brandon Jones, he's right in the middle of it.
All right, hey everybody, it's Brandon Jones again from Distribution Maven with Missouri Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. And very luckily, I'm joined with Corey Rimmel, co-founder of My Field State Dispensaries here in Missouri. Thanks a lot for joining us, Corey. Appreciate the time. And we are very excited Memorial Weekend. One thing I did want to get into real quick is we did donate another $5 million to the Missouri Veterans Fund just recently, bringing the total leader to $14 million here in Missouri. So I'm pretty proud of what we're doing here. And thanks again for joining. I really wanted to bring you on because you guys are doing a lot in education. I know you do classes once a week. Is that right?
Yeah, we're trying to host events at the dispensary where people can ask questions and learn about, cannabis science products. We also go on live on Facebook and Instagram. We don't get blocked, as much as possible.
Yeah, I saw you had the terpene one last week, and I know there's lots of different stuff. You can actually come up here to take part or be able to do it, like you said, on social. And you do another cool thing here that I don't think a lot of dispensaries do. You can actually have a personal consultation, right? It's up to like 30 minutes with someone to actually build a profile. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you can go on our website, myfieldstate.com, and schedule a consultation with one of the bud tenders or really anyone at our store, either virtually or in the store. And we'll do it in a private room setting and go walk through the guidebook, answer any questions, and really help, a new patient. Because, in my mind, it's worth spending the extra time with the first-time patient to really build that relationship.
Yeah, it really helps a lot. And like I said, a lot of people are just getting into it that, didn't know all the science about it. And this book, they have a personal guidebook. It really goes through a lot of the different terpenes, breaks down usage. It has a little great thing that I think is awesome. It's a journal, right? You can actually go in and log. What do you think is the best benefits from having the journal?
So, the strain name and, the THC percentage is not everything we kind of advocate for is, so we're telling people to kind of, look at the terpenes and figure out, what your dosage was and write all that down and, what you ate prior, what you did that day to really figure out, what type of chemotype or that you would prefer on your next visit. And, we can help you because we don't always have the same strains there each week.
Yeah, couldn't believe it. They actually have some strains because of THC, you can't get as high percentage, but like cost for it, I couldn't believe it got $160 ounce because people were always worried about just the THC. And here you guys really focus on the full spectrum, all the terpenes, the cannabinoids, and really figuring out what works for people. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And thanks for joining me today, Corey. Again, I'm Brandon Jones from Distribution Maven with the Missouri Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News, joined by Corey Rimmel, co-founder of My Field State. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great week.
In other state news, there's an Arizona-based company that's doing so well, they're starting to acquire other operations. And this acquisition is north of the border in Canada. Item 9 LabCorp Mill has swallowed up Sessions Cannabis in Ontario, Canada. Now, according to MJ Biz Daily, that deal was worth 12.8 million American dollars. Sessions has 43 cannabis stores in that Ontario province. Now it's time for the Michigan Report with the executive director of that state's NORML division. His name is Rick Thompson.
Hello again. This is the Michigan Report with Rick Thompson for Weed Talk News. Let's begin. The Cannabis Regulatory Agency has issued an advisory for cannabis businesses registered with the state. The bulletin details criminal activity and increased social engineering attacks on cannabis businesses. Specifically, the bulletin warns that people are breaking into secured trash receptacles and stealing items, and there's been a rash of robberies at regulated retail outlets lately. Issues of fraud are on the rise too, including scammers pretending to be CRA employees or fire safety inspectors, pretending to be owners or vendors and demanding either cash or crypto payments be made immediately. The CRA requires all licensees to be aware of the increased threat and report these issues immediately. Well, Director Brisboe and his CANRA National Organization of Cannabis Regulators are pushing Congress to enact federal banking reforms soon, according to a new letter sent to lawmakers late last week. They cited public safety, lack of banking and financial services, and the need for minority businesses to access traditional forms of capital. The letter outlines violence and recent robberies against businesses and employees within the cannabis industry. The CANRA letter says the organization itself has had difficulty in securing banking due to the words contained within their name. The letter states, "We urge Congress to prioritize policy approaches that promote safe banking." Regulators from Georgia, Hawaii, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington signed the letter. The CRA is no longer requiring pre-ordering of immature plants from approved marijuana growers before transferring clones to a retailer. Now, in the past, clones could be sold by a licensed cannabis retailer only if a customer pre-ordered them and picked up the clones within 7 days, which is a very burdensome program. Now, cannabis retailers can have clones available for purchase in their stores, but if the young plants don't sell within a week, they must be destroyed. Michigan's law defines immature plants as those less than 8 inches tall and 8 inches wide, and anything under lights in a cannabis retailer likely to grow beyond that restriction, which is apparently the logic behind the 1 week or die clause. Retailers are no longer required to keep proof that immature plants on site were pre-ordered. They're only required to keep a plan for maintenance and destruction of plants during that 7-day period in which they are in the inventory at the retailer. The updated approval process for immature plant sales can be found on the Cannabis Regulatory Agency's website. Final story I have, and I'm sure some of you might, but very few Americans have seen 2,000 pounds of raw cannabis up close and personal. But I bet none of us has put a ton of raw cannabis in their car and tried to drive it across the country. Yeah, that's what one Michigan man did, driving the cannabis packed in Home Depot boxes all the way to Florida before he was pulled over and the canna load was discovered. He now faces 3 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. Commenting on the huge bust was not Florida's governor, not law enforcement, but the director of agriculture in Florida, who used the opportunity to push for federal legalization of cannabis. People, don't try to run cannabis across the nation, just don't. And especially don't when the quantity of cannabis is measured in the thousands of pounds. And that's it for the Michigan Report with Rick Thompson on Weed Talk News.
California continues to dominate the cannabis market on the legal and the legacy side. This is why we depend on Christopher Smith from the American Cannabis Report to give us the latest from the state's cannabis scene.
Greetings from the center of the cannabis universe. I'm Christopher Smith, and this is the California Roundup for Weed Talk News. Typically, I will read about 3 to 4 news stories from the California cannabis market and then go into some depth. But this week, however, there are more good stories than usual. So I'm going to give you the headlines and a little bit of depth and then tell you where you can find more information. So California's cannabis regulations have a few structural problems, as I've reported here many times, not the least of which is the ability for municipalities to opt out. In a case of the baby with the bathwater, many cities and towns also lost access to medicinal cannabis, which has been legal for 25 years in California. A month ago, I reported that State Senator Scott Wiener had proposed a bill to require access to medicinal cannabis either by dispensary or by delivery, and that bill has now passed the state Senate. You can read more in Cannabis Business Times. The Pet Cannabis Coalition is a recently established advocacy group, and they are announcing today their full support of California Assembly Bill 1885. If passed, the bill will amend existing language to clearly specify that California veterinarians won't risk discipline by the state's veterinary medical board for recommending the use of cannabis for pets. Read more at 420 Intel. A combination of reefer madness propaganda and not in my backyard privilege seems to be behind most of the opt-out mania. That and the misguided belief that if a cannabis dispensary comes to your town, the children will get it. Well, the opposite of true, of course. When cannabis is illegal, street dealers control the market and you know they don't check ID, California has proved me right once again. Researchers wanted to put the cannabis industry's compliance with ID requirements to the test, so they sent people who seemingly looked underage to 50 randomly selected cannabis shops around the state to see if they could get in without presenting ID. And every single retailer required ID. Read more at Marijuana Moment. The city of Sacramento and Habitat for Humanity whipped up a plan to kill two birds with one stone, offering people busted with grow houses the opportunity to donate their house to a worthy cause instead of paying sky-high penalties. Since busted growers already face 6-digit penalties, this program would allow them to choose to donate their property directly to Habitat for Humanity. The program is called Justice for Neighbors. You can read more at 420 Intel. California cannabis companies Dub Bros, Catalyst Cannabis Company, and Gold Flora Distribution are partnering with Bomb Techs Without Borders and Ukraine Now to purchase non-lethal supplies for Ukrainians, recently sending a pallet of individual first aid kits. For every $125 donation, the program can purchase another first aid kit. Other cannabis companies contributing to the Ukraine situation include MediThrive of California, Luxury Loud from Detroit, and Mateo Communications in New York. And you can read more about that in both Ganjapreneur and at High Times. Now, one of our generation's favorite actors, Woody Harrelson, has opened a consumption lounge in West Hollywood called The Woods. No guarantee you'll see Woody, but it's a part of an epic cannabis branding effort in West Hollywood called the Emerald Village. And you can read more at 420 Intel. And if you're visiting the San Francisco Bay Area, you've got to make sure to jump across the bay to Oakland, where you'll find the Oakland Cannabis Trail, a historical, colorful travel adventure with unique retail and cannabis-centric experiences. Developed by Visit Oakland in collaboration with cannabis travel enthusiasts and Oakland's leading dispensaries. The Oakland Cannabis Trail offers a one-of-a-kind opportunity to immerse yourself in Oakland history as you explore 8 premium cannabis retail shops that represent the deeply rooted past and innovative future of cannabis in Oakland, as well as restaurants, local attractions, and sensory activities, including hand-selected art exhibits and the great outdoors. That sounds like an ad for the whole thing. Once again, 420 Intel is your source for more info about that. And I am Christopher Smith, the publisher of the American Cannabis Report, bringing you a whole lot of California sunshine for Weed Talk News.
In Illinois this week, MSO Verano actually won a lawsuit, and it came from a former employee. You might remember there was a deal that kind of fell through, and now that lawsuit has been dismissed, and Verano is the big winner. Our big winner in Illinois is Thomas Howard. Thomas.
What's up, everybody? It's Tom from CannabisIndustryLawyer.com. I'm located over in Illinois and practice with the Collateral Blaze firm. We had a lot of interesting cannabis news that came out of the state of Illinois this week. Tomorrow, which you're broadcasting today, they may have actually released 185 cannabis dispensary licenses that had been held up in court for almost 2 years under an injunction and their restraining order. And that should be dissolved perhaps tomorrow. A motion has been filed for it to be dissolved, and all of those dispensaries that have been held in limbo can finally start to move forward. More excitingly, there also may be more craft grows that are awarded, if not tomorrow, then soon, because a couple of weeks ago on May 13th, they awarded several more. The rumor mill says that it was approximately 15. I haven't gotten any more confirmation from any parties, especially any parties that are in the know regarding how many that is, but everyone I've talked to that has licenses or that has access to information said it was about 15 licenses, meaning that 45 more craft grow licenses could still become available. And there's going to, of course, be a lottery in the fall. However, it's an election year. The state has its primary in approximately 1 month on June 28th. So we don't anticipate any other real changes in the state of Illinois. That's all I have to report for the week from the state of Illinois is cannabis space. If you need anything, please do go over to Cannabis Legalization News. Click subscribe to that and follow us. And thank you guys so much. See you next time.
If you follow the news and challenges in the cannabis industry, you know that advertising on traditional TV and radio is banned. So many take to social media to share their messaging. Unfortunately, even the Facebooks, Instagrams, and Twitters of the world ID and ban the word cannabis or any of its derivatives from their platforms. Some even just shut down that page. Well, now the New York Office of Cannabis Management is asking TikTok's owners to allow educational messaging on their platform. This comes at the same time that New York is starting their cannabis conversation campaign to inform their public about what to expect now that the plant is legal for adult use. Their message is about health and education, but TikTok has not even budged or even responded yet. A large portion of the ownership and direction of TikTok is controlled by the Chinese government. So I'm not sure an exception will be made for New York or any other informative cannabis initiative. Just south of New York is New Jersey, and they are off and running with their new adult use cannabis market. Here's Jill Goldsberry with our report from the Garden State.
Hey guys, what's going on? I'm back. It's Jill from New Jersey with the New Jersey Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News. And we've got some news for you this week. So as you know, recreational weed sales in New Jersey have been approved, and it's been going on for over a month now, a little over a month actually. And recreational weed sales have hit upwards of $24 million. The Cannabis Regulatory Commission has approved 2 new cultivation facilities in response to this. One will be in Vineland, New Jersey, and another will be in Lakewood, New Jersey, as reported earlier on Weed Talk News this month. And now what we're seeing is New Jersey, as we near the end of the first month of legal recreational sales, lawmakers have introduced a series of bills aimed at restricting what types of workers can use cannabis off the job. This measure is being sponsored by Senator Robert Singer of Ocean, and he would amend the state's recreational marijuana law to ban cannabis for any employee who operates heavy machinery, uses weapons, or whose use of cannabis would put the public at risk, which definitely makes sense. So we're talking any worker who operates tractors, dump trucks, law enforcement officers, truck drivers, people like that. And lawmakers have been debating whether or not police officers should be allowed to take part in recreational marijuana, since Acting Attorney General Matt Platkin sent a memo last month reminding the police departments that the law allows cops to use marijuana off duty. So the memo prompted several cities and counties to say that they will prohibit cannabis use by police officers. So the debate remains to be seen, and we will keep you posted. And in other news around New Jersey, we are seeing, this comes out of Jersey City, New Jersey. The Cannabis Board has approved the Powerhouse Arts District applicant WR Wellness. They want to open a recreational dispensary in downtown Jersey City. The Jersey City Cannabis Review Board has approved the recreational cannabis applicant, putting them one step closer to selling within the city. And I'm sure Jersey City will be very happy about that. The proposed dispensary will be located at 150 Bay Street, which is, as I said, in the Powerhouse Arts District of the downtown area. So we want to just take one moment to congratulate WR Wellness. They're joining Blossom Dispensary and MMD New Jersey to receive approval from the Cannabis Control Board, as well as the Planning Board. Now they just need approval from the City Council before applying for state approval. So the battle continues, and that's this week's news with Jill Goldsberry with the New Jersey Cannabis Report for Weed Talk News.
The wife of WNBA superstar Brittany Griner is making some noise to raise attention to the fact that Brittany is still behind bars in Russia. Cheryl Griner told ESPN that February 17th was the day that Griner was busted for carrying an alleged THC vape through airport security. Now, Cheryl is working with the U.S. Secretary of State and
is appealing to President Biden to get involved. Now, you might remember that Trevor Reed was released in April, and there are still another handful of American citizens in Russian custody besides Brittany Griner. Now, needless to say, the president has a lot on his plate these days, and the same can be said for our own Massachusetts correspondent, Ron Marshalsea, who has our Bay State Cannabis Report.
I'm Ron Marshalsea for Weed Talk News. This is the Massachusetts Cannabis Report. A $20 million marijuana growing operation and cultivation facility proposed in East Springfield was denied a special permit by the City Council. The vote on a motion to approve the special permit was 6-4 with 2 councilors abstaining, and since a 2/3 majority is required for approval, the special permit was rejected. There have been critics, including a would-be rival for a marijuana cultivation license in Springfield, who have cried foul. Even City Councilor Kateri Walsh said she believed Page Cultivate got a break that was not afforded others. City Solicitor John Payne warned councilors that if the special permit was rejected, a lawsuit could follow. In the state next door, Rhode Island, the governor signed legislation on Wednesday that makes Rhode Island the 19th state in the nation to legalize and regulate recreational marijuana. The law legalizes the sale and possession of up to 1 ounce of cannabis for adults ages 21 and older with no more than 10 ounces for personal use kept at a person's home, while also allowing residents to grow a small amount at home. Rhode Island's General Assembly overwhelmingly voted in favor of the legislation Tuesday night, and Governor Dan McKee said the legislation accomplishes the priorities of making sure legalization is equitable, controlled, and safe. And finally, Curaleaf announced the launch of Endless Coast cannabis-infused seltzers, a highly sociable line of low-calorie, low-sugar, and low-carb beverages which will be available at Curaleaf dispensaries in Massachusetts by today, May 27th. Just in time for the summer beverage season, Endless Coast delivers balanced cannabinoid ratios in 4 refreshing botanical flavors: lemon ginger, orange mango jalapeno, lime, and grapefruit and botanicals. That's this week's Massachusetts Cannabis Report. For Weed Talk News, I'm Ron Marshalsea.
Bay State Cannabis Report is supported by Holyoke Cannabis, Holyoke's finest cannabis recreational experience.
And finally tonight, Pro Cannabis Media wants to wish the legendary Tommy Chong a very happy 84th birthday. To celebrate, I'll take some of his good vibes tincture. Happy 84th birthday, Tommy. The cannabis world loves you. And that'll do it for this week's Weed Talk News. Elena Pinto will be back next week. I'm Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly.
Hi, my name's Tai Chang. I'm the president and founder of Aloha Green Apothecary in Hawaii. We're a vertically integrated medical cannabis company with 3 dispensaries, 1 extraction lab, and 1 cultivation center near the North Shore of Oahu. We have over 150 employees now, and we've been working with Adaptive HR to meet our human resource needs. We're super excited to work with them as we expand, and we've grown at least 2-3 times over the last 2 years. So we look forward to a good relationship with Adaptive, and come visit us in Hawaii anytime. Aloha.
Weed Talk and In the Weeds are 2 productions of Pro Cannabis Media supported by Revolutionary Clinics, one of the top medical cannabis dispensaries in the Massachusetts area, now with 3 locations in Greater Boston, 2 in Cambridge, and 1 on Broadway in Somerville. Rev Clinics has a patient-first mission. They will customize your needs as a medical patient with the proper titration and combination of strains, flavors, and products. Rev Clinics, where the patient comes first.
Difference is building a solution for that individual. Not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. and we keep the cost low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. Cannabis Media programming is available live and on demand on our Facebook page at Pro Canna Media, on Instagram at Pro Cannabis Media, on LinkedIn also at Pro Cannabis Media, on YouTube and YouTube Live on Pro Cannabis Media, Twitter at Pro Canna Media, and on twitch.tv/Pro Cannabis Media. So like, share, and subscribe to all of our content, newsletters, and shows live or on demand.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.